we did hope a few people would turn up. But, so first of all, very warm welcome, and a huge thank you to every one of you for turning up tonight, because obviously you're all very interested in your own football club, is what this is. So probably fair to say that in all my time here at Sutton United, it's the first time that we've actually called a meeting for the particular purpose that we're doing tonight. Now, just to rewind and very briefly remember what this football club has achieved over the last 4 years. So very quickly take you back to winning National South, that wonderful unbeaten run, getting promotion into what we always wanted to achieve, which was playing at the top level of non-league football. And of course, stuck in between was 2 years ago that unbelievable FA Cup run. So when you actually analyse the last 4 years in particular, under Doz's reign and Bairdy as well, you know, what an achievement for a football club this size. So as a consequence of the on-the-pitch success, we've been able to do an awful lot of things around this football club. And somebody came the other week and said to me, my goodness, this place has changed, you've done a few things here. And I think, again, I don't think it's wrong just to remember that we got a windfall from the FA Cup. I think it's fair to say that everybody it's been well publicised, and I think everybody realises that the board took their decision to basically reinvest that money in the infrastructure of the football club to make it more sustainable going forward, and to do some of those jobs that never got to the top of the list before we had that cup run. So having invested in the 3G pitch, we were able to repay Doz, and it's again well documented, a huge chunk of that money that he lent this football club to enable us to put down the 3G pitch. But that's also allowed us to develop the academy, more of that later, and also to facilitate the development of juniors, boys, girls, ladies, community, disability teams. Unbelievable now what's going on at this football club. We're close to building the new pavilion on the far side of the ground, and that will continue to fuel the community side of this football club, which we're very proud of. So you're in the NBA lounge now, new sponsor, and newly refurbished, and something for us I think to be very proud of, with all the bars refurbished as well. New toilets, refurbished changing rooms, crush barriers, turnstiles, a new club shop, digital scoreboard, CCTV around the place, LED floodlights, new website, a lot of social media outreach. Somebody else wrote that for me, so and then some of the things that you won't have known about, which was replacing a lot of the structural grandstand steels that, when exposed, and Doz would be able to give you the technical side, which I'm sure you don't need, but you know, it was all those sort of things around the place, and lots of overdue stadium maintenance, electrics, plumbing, etc., asbestos removal, you know, the perimeter fence, you know, the list is almost endless. And of course, obviously, you know, we have invested to a certain extent in you know, what is clearly a fabulous group of players, and you know, an exceptional management team. Gave us our highest ever league position last year, you know, third in the National League, and just one game away from a playoff final at Wembley. And we're ninth at the moment, so you know, unbelievable to actually find ourselves in that position. So, you know, there's been a huge amount that has been achieved over these last few years, all under Doz's tenure. And you know, season tickets, we'll talk about those later. I think you've all seen the leaflet, and AB will give you a bit more chapter and verse on those later. So where are we now? What have we achieved over these last few years? Well, we've got major community engagement. We've got a high profile, higher than I can ever remember it, a reputation which we do our very best to adhere to, which is a well-run community, local football club that more and more people luckily want to be associated with. And you know, I think that's the fabulous thing about looking out at you all tonight, that people are interested enough in your club to come along and listen to see what we've got to say, and hopefully what they can do to help us. So we now come to the challenge, and the challenge is that we are playing in what is predominantly a full-time, professionally run football league. Lots of ex-football league clubs, which I'm sure a lot of us are enjoying watching coming down to Gander Green Lane, and also that we've enjoyed going to some of the away games and standing on the terraces and looking out and thinking, my goodness, you know, little Sutton United playing at the Tranmeres, and you know, all these ex-football league clubs would be at Chesterfield on Saturdays, live on BT Sport. I mean, how good is that? So Sutton fans, and that's all we are as well. The board are Sutton fans. That's why we're here. What do we want from this football club? I mean, where do we want to be? We have been spoilt. The superb team has probably punched well above its weight in terms of the budget that we can afford. And you know, we have to look forward, and that's one of the major reasons that we've called the meeting tonight, because you know, we want to involve everybody in. So basically what we want to do is you know, we want to encourage more and more help. We obviously want to continue the way we are. We want to be as sustainable as possible, but we can't do it on our own. And there's been a number of examples recently of clubs at this level and obviously below, where they have come out publicly and said how difficult it is for a part-time football club to continue playing and be competitive in a league such as the National League. And some people think it's even more difficult to play in the National League than it is in the lower regions of the Football League. So whether that's the case or not, it may well be. I don't think it's any easier. So we want to retain the ethos that we think we've got at this football club. We think it's a bit special. What this is about is our football club, and making sure that our football club is here, sustainable, long after Doz and Bairdy and myself are no longer involved. And that time will come, obviously, at some stage, and we need to make sure that this football club is still in a position that hopefully it is at the moment, playing at the top level and entertaining people and being a real community club. So who owns this football club? Anybody know? Absolutely right. Who said the shareholders? Yeah, absolutely spot on. And you know, this is, we've often said this, and we've probably not made a big enough sort of public announcement about this over the years, but you know, this is a fans-owned club. You know, you read in the papers every week about clubs that are fans-owned, but you know, I think we were one of the first, actually. This club has got, is obviously owned by the shareholders. It's a limited company, everybody knows the setup, I'm sure. We've got nearly 200 shareholders. You know, we'd like to expand that, more of that later, but basically it is a fans-owned club, and that's the way we want to keep it. What has happened from a practical point of view is that the board have been looking hard over the whole of this season, hugely helped by Rob Oakes, the best treasurer this football club's ever had, I can assure you, who puts in an unbelievable amount of hours to come up with figures, come up with management accounts, come up with cash flows, come up with budgets. We have to do a certain amount of those for the National League anyway. When you're playing at this level, it's you know, there's an awful lot of admin involved. But basically, Rob has come up with some figures, and you know, the board asked him to give us an idea as a club to be sustainable, to be able to continue to play at this sort of level of football or above. What sort of money we're probably lacking, and you know, glibly we've talked about 150 grand a year.
We want to encourage more people to come in and wear the amber and chocolate scarf and be proud of their football club, their local community football club. So we took the decision that anyone aged 10 and under can come into the games absolutely free of charge next season. So next season they'll receive a season ticket still, won't they, Jenny? We're still going to do that, so even though they won't have paid any money, they'll still get that little card with a picture of Craig Eastman, whoever it is we decided to put in front. But they'll be able to come into those games owning that card completely free of charge. Their brothers and sisters aged 11 to 18 will get in for just £30 for the whole season, and their parents and friends as I say, if they're renewing, £149 or £129 for concessions. And if they're new to the club and haven't bought a season ticket before, we've kept those prices really low too. They're only a £20 supplement on those. But I would urge that these prices will only be valid up to and including the last game of the season. Everyone comes, they recognise the importance that the fans play, the supporters play in the future and development of this football club. And the first thing they can do in order to demonstrate that support is to buy one of these season tickets and show that support right away, so that we know that we've got that bedrock of support for Sutton United in 2019. Now, but it was over 1,400 season tickets sold last year. We need to at least keep that, if not more, next season. I know that we sold a lot of those for the back of that amazing FA Cup run, but actually what's happened since has been even more remarkable for a club of our size. And what we want to do is we want to continue punching above our weight. We want to continue driving forward and proving everybody wrong that this is the league that we should be in, and indeed challenging at the other end of it. But we'll only do that if everyone in this room and everyone they know is completely behind this football club. And this is the first thing I implore you all to do to demonstrate that support.
Please help us out with renewing and do it as quickly as possible, and let's get those numbers up even more. So that's one of the things that obviously we wanted to deal with tonight and announce and start the ball rolling on that, looking forward to next season. So one of the other initiatives that the directors are fully behind is already in place. Some of you may or may not be aware that back to the fans' own club, the shareholding situation, that what we're doing there is we increased the authorised share capital of Sutton United Football Club Limited last year, and that's enabled us to have some additional shares available for people to purchase. Now they're £50 shares, and basically, as I said earlier, we have about 200 shareholders. We want to double that. We want to end up, very soon with 400 shareholders. We want to spread the load. We want additional people to come on board and to help us out. And one of the ways in which people can do that is basically to become a shareholder in the Football Club Limited. And that is something that has a double benefit. It brings extra income into this football club, but it also spreads out the ownership of this football club. It makes people feel a part of it, and that's what we want everybody to do, because there's nothing better than seeing a room full of people interested in this exceptional football club that we've got. So shareholdings are one of the ways in which you can help us, and obviously we'd encourage you to consider that as an option. The board have also not only looked at ways in which we can raise additional income, but they're also looking at strengthening the board. And to that end, a decision has already been made that we're going to make some additional directorships available for people, and basically this is going to be something that we'd like people to consider. I mean, for example, anybody here who thinks that they would like to get involved to that extent, on that level, obviously we'd be very pleased to hear from them. You may know somebody who might like to get involved. We've got a number of people that we've already got in mind that we would like to target. We need additional help. It's not just about finance, it's also about all the jobs that need doing and the backup and the expertise that people bring to the board of directors. If you want to be a director, it's going to cost you, but that goes without saying. I'm sure you could all work that out for yourself. But that's something that we want to encourage and we want people to get involved with. And I keep saying to Dave every so often, you can never have too much help. And I'd reiterate that tonight, that we can never ever have too much help in making sure that this club continues as it has been over the last few years. So there's another club that has run a draw, which we're going to start very shortly. We're going to call it the Amber Draw. It's very simple, so everybody can understand it. It's £100 a ticket. We're looking to try and get 500 people to buy a ticket at £100 each. So that gives you a nice pot of money, out of which 20% of that will go in prizes, and probably if we can launch this sort of over the next possibly a couple of months, then we'd be looking at doing a draw in December. So it focuses everybody's attention on the travel and the accommodation costs of playing in this league. You would not believe how much it does cost to take a team and a management team, and obviously we don't do very many overnight stays. Dos will tell you about that. You know why? It's obvious that we do as few as possible because that makes it even more expensive.
The other thing to say, just going back very briefly to the season tickets, is that this is a really expensive league to play in. We know that. We've already spoken about the away travel. You look at the teams who come down and play here at Gander Green Lane, they've all turned up, they're staying overnight at the Holiday Inn in Sutton, they're turning up in very fancy coaches, they're really refreshed and ready to go. We're going away and we're travelling on the day, more often than not by train, and we're turning up and putting in extremely good performances, and actually this season picking up a lot of points on the road, despite not having had perhaps the ideal preparation for those matches on the road. So what we're trying to do with this initiative as well is to fund the ability for the team to be able to perform to the highest of their potential on away days as well. We know it's an expensive league to play in, full stop. We know the teams we're up against, they're all ex-EFL, professionally run clubs. We've got to be competing with them off the pitch as well as on it. Our prices, our admission prices next year, are going to go up slightly as well. So at the minute we're at £15 per person, I think it's £8 for concessions. Next year those prices are going to go up to £17 and £10 respectively, and I think £5 for juniors. So that actually makes the season ticket price value even better value than it already is. So
even if you can't actually contribute financially in any way, shape or form, there's loads of other ways in which you can contribute. You know, we need volunteers, we need extra help. We talked about strengthening the board as far as people are concerned, but we also need help in all other areas. And even if you can't help or finance anything, basically you probably know somebody who might want to hire a nice function room, or you might know somebody who might want to hire the pitch. And you know, there's a long list of things which I won't go over now, but it's glaringly obvious that, you know, don't think that the guy next to you is going to do it and therefore you don't need to bother. You know, please go out of here tonight thinking, right, yeah, you know, I'm sure I could talk to somebody, I could do something, I could get the word spread about, whether it's putting posters up.
I mean, I think you know me well enough by now, I'll be a lot more succinct. We have, for the last sort of 2 seasons, punched, and it's such an easy thing to say, but this can't be a cliched evening. We punched above our weight to such an extent that you know, the third last season put us in a position that had we gone up, and I'm not going to there's questions you're going to ask me, and as you know, in this evening tonight, we'll answer any question. You know, to my real left. I mean, ever since he's come here, Bairdy, you know, he's been a real catalyst of the two of us together, and that's, you know, winning the Conference South together, then going on to the national, getting the 5th round of the FA Cup, and finishing mid-table in the National League that year, finishing 3rd, and currently 9th. And one of the things that we have both found particularly difficult this season is, you know, we are fishing in a pool. And it's very much sometimes there is some element of luck attached to whether people come up. So the reality is that this club has hit a crossroads, and this is what's been discussed. And it's a crossroads for me and Ian in the same respect as it is for the club. And the one thing that I don't think that we've done enough of is say that we are a proper fans-owned football club. And I said to the board for a long time, you shouldn't be embarrassed to come out now and tell people how much we all of us in this room, because you're here with an unbelievable amount of people that have come tonight, and I'm so pleased for that. But all of us need to help, and you know, I've been here for 11 years now, and I know it's well documented the help that I've given the football club. I've never wanted a share for it, I've never asked for anything for it. But what I am asking tonight, and certainly Ian, I think will replicate this, is that we all really massively come together now, because the 150 grand can be raised in essence 3 or 4 ways. The Amber Draw is going to raise 40 grand now, and that will go towards travel. The equity directors were looking for maybe 4, trying to bring in 60 to 70,000. So it's, you know, we need to strengthen the board with cash. And the other situation is every single person who comes to this football club, if they can, should be a shareholder, because it's your club. You know, and Ian will probably go on to that. I think he's been at some football clubs. Do you want to just mention what you were saying about the clubs and? what Doz is trying to get to is, for some who don't know, I used to be a professional footballer. I was lucky enough to play for some very, very big clubs, including Leeds United, Middlesbrough, etc. But as I got older, I went down the leagues. But even going down the leagues to clubs like Bristol City and Brighton, they were still big clubs. And then into the management career, the likes of Eastleigh and Havant, and to now to be at Sutton with Doz and Bruce and everybody. I've always said to Doz, this club is something that is very, very unique, with the people who run it, with Doz at the helm, and also with the supporters here. I mean, you saw what it was like in the FA Cup run. You know, that always galvanises people, the knock-on effect from that. But with this football club, what you do and what you get is something that is unique. Invariably with football clubs and boards and chairmen and directors of football and everything that goes along with that, they've got an agenda. There's not one person at this football club's got an agenda, apart from the club going forward and everybody being together and being a fan-zone club. And even when you walk into the bar, you know, after disappointing performances, in other football clubs, believe you me, you expect some stick, and invariably you do get some stick. But all you ever get off this football club is you, the supporters, you, the fans, is nothing but support. And I think what Doz is trying to get to, and what Bruce is trying to get to, for us at this football club, to continue where we are, we need your support. You know, the utopia would be to get into the next level. I think for us is to get to Wembley. You know, with an FA Trophy final appearance, the possibility of getting to utopia with an appearance at Wembley. But for us to go to the next level, being very, very serious here, is it unachievable? Maybe. Is it achievable? Well, it can only be achieved by everybody staying together, galvanising and get some more money, and that's as bluntly as I can put it. I look round at the whole of the board that have become firm friends of mine, and they are no more than genuine supporters. And most of the reason they're here is their fathers supported the club, and that's a unique part of this football club. I'm a supporter now and always will be of the football club. I think the point Ian was making is, you know, he's been with me for this is the fifth season, and it is a unique football club, and I think you hopefully feel that, and you know that you're part of it. Now, 173 or 180 shareholders is a ridiculously low amount of shareholders for a fan-zone club. But that's mainly our fault, because we haven't actually promoted the idea that that's what we are. You know, one of the questions I've asked Bruce only about 2 years ago is actually, who owns this football club? Well, we do, you do. I don't, because I don't particularly, you know, I haven't got asked for a share for what I put in. But ultimately, if you're a shareholder of this football club, then you become a part owner. It's as simple as that, and you feel even more part of the club. But the reality is, we're 150 grand adrift each season. It's been made up through FA Cup runs, and I've got to say, one of the great things this year, you know, is again Steve King, who runs the disability teams. I think Duncan, who's taken the ladies to a championship title. I mean, how good is that when we didn't even have a ladies team too? If you're genuine about the whole club. If you're genuine about the whole club and it not just being about the first team, now we should feel proud that we got the under-8s to the 16s. That's why I did it. The under-8s to 16s training it. Then now we've got girls teams everywhere. We've got the ladies teams. We are and always have been, and that's the point. We're even more together now than we've ever been. I could go through almost all of you. I've got to know you personally. There is some amazingly good people in this room, and that in essence is what we're talking about. You know, a good football club full of good people. But we are actually saying to you, you know, and we've never done this before. I don't think the club's ever come out and said, look, if we're going to go forward in any capacity, then we're going to need some help. And the help has got to come from within. We don't want to go to outside people to go and buy this football.